I'd go to a group of young kids and I'd ask them, are you Filipino? And 3 years ago, the response I'd get is, I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Spanish, Filipino, you know. But now it's like, yeah, I'm 100% Filipino, yes, yes, like that. So there is a readiness of putting out their identity.
Throughout the years, this is what we have told our young people who have joined us. Be proud that you're a Filipino. Be proud of the culture because you have a very beautiful culture. And our purpose is to continue to perpetuate the culture.
The first Filipinos were recruited in 1906 from a rural area of the Philippines called Ilocos Norte. Hired as unskilled laborers for the sugar plantations, they worked 10 hours a day for $14 a month. Though many of them returned to the Philippines or moved to the mainland at the end of their contracts, Hawaii was now open for successive waves of immigration. During the 1930s and 40s, men began raising families in Hawaii or bringing their wives and children over from the Philippines. The plantation Filipino camps continued to grow with people primarily from Ilocos Norte, but also from other regions such as Visayas and Pangasinan. They brought with them varying languages and cultural traditions and dreams of a better life for their families. The children and grandchildren of Filipino laborers became artists, teachers, businessmen, and some of Hawaii's prominent leaders.
I remember coming home from school and we used to have these old Rizal Day type programs out at Waipahu Ballpark. And so he used to be proud because he used to volunteer his grandson, which was me, to give a speech in Tagalog. I mean, you know, and so I used to have to come home from school and he used to put me on this big steamer trunk, you know, that he came from the Philippines with. He used to put me on the trunk, and he used to rehearse me every day for at least an hour. So I don't know, maybe this was a destiny for me. You know, those days I couldn't see it, but maybe today, now that I'm in office and I'm the Speaker of the House, maybe that was the destiny that was you know, bound for me.
Growing up in Waipahu's Filipino camp, Dan Quijano's love for his community has its roots in plantation life and family commitment.
You know, we became a very close-knit community because of knowing all of the people in Waipahu. You know, when I was growing up, everybody knew everybody's families in Waipahu. Even when we went to school, there wasn't a day that I was absent in school that my parents didn't know, because the principal at the school knew all the parents.
Hilo's mayor, Lorraine Inoue, also has special memories of her plantation childhood.
My brother lived across here, and as youngsters, we used to go and visit him, and sometimes bring his children over to our house so we could babysit.
I loved the life I grew up in the plantation community. One person in my life that I've always looked up to, and matter of fact, I've been carrying that story throughout my career now when I speak to groups, is that in the plantation, they used to have an industrial relations position. And this position was held by a Filipino man. He was Mr. Anastasio Luis. And he used to encourage us a lot, the kids in the plantation camp. And basically, he used to talk to me a lot. You know, you have to, you know, try to do good for yourself. You have 8 in your family. And so I used to do a lot of reading, and you know, because of his encouragement, and so I tried to be a good student.
This is the home where I was raised, and it looks smaller now, though. We had a family of 8. What was nice about this community, though, that I remember vividly is the holiday singing during Christmas time. And we used to go caroling from door to door, and the men used to bring their guitars, the kids used to follow. And that was really nice.
Holidays such as Christmas and Rizal Day and family events were an important means for maintaining cultural traditions in music and dance. The Filipino Rondalla Band became a popular form of entertainment, not only with Filipinos, but also with other plantation ethnic groups. The band, composed of 4 stringed instruments, could be found at all major social events, from holidays to family reunions. George Camarillo and his 3 sons carry on the tradition of the Rondalla Band.
For the Camarillo family, music has been passed on to us for a long time, from my parents down. And then my wife has a great part, plays a great role in the music education of our children also. And I have to give her credit, because she's the one who teach them the different melody of the different ethnic songs, like the Ilocano songs, the Visayan songs. And all I do is put them together and see that, you know, we're playing in tune, and we're playing together like a family, you know, in harmony. I'd like to see someone, maybe one of my sons, keep this tradition of playing in a rondalla alive, you know.
Keeping traditions alive in dance as well as music is a goal of Pat and Orlando Valentin. After doing intensive research in the Philippines, they were eager to share their knowledge with young people.
The first reaction was, why not within the family? So we got our 3 daughters interested. There are 8 cousins. That's all on my wife's side. And because I didn't have any immediate relatives here, we chose young people from close family friends. The dance company was formed to perpetuate the culture through Philippine dances. Not only to perpetuate it, but to present it in the best possible manner that would be befitting of the culture. So with that in mind, we trained the young people to know and learn the dances as authentically as possible. This dance originates during the time of the Spanish era in the Philippines. And there were many students, especially female students, who attend private colleges in Manila. And when they go back to their hometown, they present this dance at fiestas. And the costume that they wear, of course, relates to that period, which includes a very beautiful Maria Clara gown and all the accessories, the comb, the earrings, and the necklace.
I remembered seeing them in the 60s, and I always thought the way that they performed was what I would like to do in the future. Also, the way that they imparted knowledge through Manong Orlando's narration of the dances, I think informed the public that the Philippine dances are not just the so-called national dance, which is tinikling, but that it has a lot of other areas of Philippine dance, such as the Muslim, the Igorots, which is the mountain tribal people. They reflect the Spanish era of Philippine dance, as well as the typical countryside dances of the Philippines.
In the dance Maglalatik, which depicts a combat between the Christian and the Muslim Filipinos, the dance movements themselves are similar to some of the movements used in Eskrima, for instance, especially when the dancers converge together and tap each other on the shoulder or on the sides or on the back.
Eskrima, the native Filipino martial art, was so lethal that it was banned by the Spanish when they invaded the Philippines in the 16th century.
A lot of this art was saved because when the Spanish went to the Philippines, they of course wanted to outlaw this art because a lot of the Spaniards were being wiped out. So the way it was saved was it was put into a lot of the dances. Those of you familiar with the Filipino dances, like say Sakuting, if you've seen Sakuting, Sakuting is a dance that goes like this, click, 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 like that, okay? You see, it's a very nice dance. But see, that came from this sort of a mode, and it came from that into a nice dance. Same thing, there's a dance called the Maglalatik, which is a coconut dance where the guys go like this. And see this? Now what happens in one part, the guys come in and they hit each other, they go dun, 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 dun. Okay, well, what that used to be was going like this. See?
The true tradition was that it was handed down to the familia, the family. It was a secret simply because if you taught somebody else, that person could come back and challenge you to the death. Now we're trying to bring it back and try to say that through our martial arts and through our background, we're trying to let the children be aware that be happy, be proud that you're a Filipino.
The Pedoy School of Eskrima was started in 1961 by Eduardo's father, Master Braulio Pedoy.
It's not only in the islands, but it's in the mainland, and then hopefully we get it all over the world, just to let the people know that the Filipinos are a proud people, and that we have a martial arts, we have good instructors, we have demonstrating teams, we have fighting teams, tournament fighting teams. And then the Pedoy style is holding their own, so I feel like we have a very good future, proud future.
Master Pedoy was recently inducted into the International Martial Arts Hall of Fame.
I feel glad myself, yeah, because, you know, my knowledge is spread already all over, not only in Hawaii, all over in America.
Another art that came to Hawaii was the art of Filipino kite making. First introduced to the Filipinos by the Chinese, kites were used as signal devices in warfare.
When the Filipino kite first came out, it's made to fight. It's not a stable kite. So what we do, we stabilize the kite, we change a few things here and there. Most of the time you think a kite dives and stuff, you would think, put a weight on the tail section, right? So we stabilize. No, you put weight on the top section. You know where I have a stick sticking out? You just put a piece of 12-ounce lead or something to stabilize, put the weight on the top. And another thing is this, a lot of people don't know, balancing and symmetry, those two main items. Okay, most of the people use a razor blade or a knife to balance the stick. Naturally, the sticks will slide one over the other, and you don't have a perfect center balance. But if you put it center on a string won't move on that stick. So if you have it shaved up and she balanced straight across, you know it's balanced. If it's not, well, you keep shaving until you even up level. You got a balance. Well, it takes something like 12 to 15 hours to construct a kite. Okay, then you have to take it out and fly it. Call it tuning up a kite to get it to fly right. The first Filipino kite I made, yeah, I hit it on the ground and shattered. So you go home and start all over, right? And I noticed kiting, you cannot push it onto a person. The people who have to like to learn how to make kites, then it's perfect. Like anything else, I guess. You know, a person has to be interested in it. I usually make kites for kids, and when I used to give it away. I don't make a penny on it, but then I like it. I enjoy it as a hobby.
In his paintings, Tom Vinh Luan captures images of Waipahu's plantation history.
What inspires me about the plantation life is, again, it's back to the people. What they have, gone through, the hardship they have gone through. It's also the warmth that they project. When I start to talk to a subject, let's say an old-timer that I want to do a portrait of, I just don't get just the surface, but I do get the inside. I get more than what I went in there to get. Not only the painting that I get afterwards, but what I learned from the individual.
As the most recent group of laborers in the agricultural industry, the Filipinos are the most affected by Hawaii's economic transition from agriculture to tourism. Viewed as a microcosm of the changes occurring throughout Hawaii, Lanai clearly illustrates the impact of this transition.
I'm really glad that we have this, the hotels as of now. I am so glad to see this our children from Lanai going to school to Oahu or to the mainland, and we see them coming back here, which has never happened before, because once they finish high school, they go to pursue their education in different cities, and they don't come back at all because there's no job opportunity. But now we can see all these kids coming back, and we're really glad to see our kids, our children working for Lanai.
A small rural community, Lanai City has about 2,500 residents, mostly Filipinos. With the opening of the island's luxury resorts, job opportunities are luring their young people back, but those same opportunities bring with them inevitable change.
When I came here in 1971, most of the people, the population of Filipinos here are mostly the older generation, the Sakadas, and their immediate families who came here in the 70s. And at that time, you could tell that the Filipinos in there are more involved in activities at that time, because there was only one job here in Lanai, which is picking pineapples, working with plantation. And so there's more time for socializing and do the cultural presentations or cultural activities that we have for Filipinos. I'm not saying that we don't have now, but then with more jobs and more opportunities here in Lanai now, the generations that we have now don't have that really enough time to really get involved.
Kids my age, well, many were for the hotel building, but a lot of people were against it as well, because that meant more tourists and more people on the island, and many are afraid that they'll lose the privilege of going to the beach and stuff.
It was hard, especially we have all these workers, pineapple pickers who had been working more than 10 years of their life picking pineapples, and they transferred to the hotel industry. They had a hard time adjusting and getting used to with the work at the hotel. But Lanai Company, Dole Company, the Union, and Rock Resorts have been really good in giving job service trainings to all these people, especially the Filipinos.
Definitely, pineapple is phasing out, so the lifestyle is changing. And where you see pineapple, where you used to see pineapple fields, you see hay fields now, and fenced-in grazing land for cows and horses. And I guess we have to depend I mean, the future is for our young kids. Yeah? So they have to learn to grow and adjust to this new change in lifestyle.
Before it was so friendly. I mean, you'd be driving along the road and you just know everybody, just wave at everybody and everything. But now after I've come back from college, I've noticed that a lot of different cultures are here, a lot of new people, new faces, and it's hard to get used to because Lanai is changing. Lanai is moving up in the status, and I guess that's the most significant thing I've seen.
It's to our advantage for the resorts that the island and the community maintain is really small, rural feeling. As far as how to promote it, though, that's a real difficult question. As we bring in more people, obviously the character will change. The owners are trying to establish a cultural center on the island also, trying to preserve some of the things that are here today that we may lose in the next few years.
What we're trying to do is take some of our historical plantation spaces that exist today and reutilize them as cultural and heritage spaces, recreate an art studio, a working place for ceramics, a working place for arts, for painting, really trying to perpetuate what's already ongoing at the hotel in an arts program, and still give all of our different ethnic groups of Lanai a place to display and continue to perpetuate their own cultural heritage. The plantation area presents a lot of really nice spaces for that.
There will be a shift, dramatic shift from agriculture over to the resort industry. And I know the hotel can absorb any of the residents who want to work in this business. In terms of the guest response to date, the most outstanding thing that I get from the people is they comment about the staff. By and large, that is the #1 positive comment that we get from everybody. Whether they're coming from Europe, New York, California, or even from other parts of Hawaii, they always comment about how wonderful the staff is, how sincere they are, that you just can't find people like this or service like this anywhere.
The thing I would like to keep the same about Lanai is I would want to keep the peace and quiet. I want to keep that coziness of Lanai. I mean, the real aloha in Lanai.
Today's families are faced with a paradox. While parents may need to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to survive Hawaii's high cost of living, reduced family involvement threatens their children.
Most times the reason for these kids getting into trouble is that they have a lot of idle times in their hands. And so they begin by hanging out on the streets, and next thing you know, they get bored and they start doing illegal things. The Kalihi YMCA people, all wanted to do was to provide the kids with a place, safe place to hang out. They realized that there was a problem with the youth gangs in Kalihi Palama, and instead of just talking about it, they decided to do something about it. We started out with, I think, less than a dozen kids that were into dancing. And with them, they went out on the streets where they saw kids gathering among themselves on the sidewalks doing their dancing. And so they went out and told these kids that, hey, we've got a safe place to go to, that we can do our thing, we can do our dances, and feel comfortable and be safe.
Well, I had a friend here at the Y, and he told me about the dance program, and I really enjoyed dancing. So he brought me over, and then I started.
It keeps you real busy. When you're bored, you have something to do down here. So some of my friends come down here. I encourage them to come down.
Instead of staying home or going places, spending money, you can just learn things over here. You can make friends. You can learn lots of things. We even do sports like that. So it's better than just going out, going to a mall, spending money, and going out on the streets doing drugs like that. Over here, you're safe.
Right now, we have about 260 kids registered in the program, and most of them are very active. Although the breakdown is about 95% Filipinos,
because that's what this program was intended for anyway. Nevertheless, I do not discourage any other kids from joining. As long as they want to get away from the youth gang problems and the drug problems, they're welcome here. The older kids that were regional members, some of them are now members of the staff, which is good because it gives the kids, the younger kids, a sense of someone who knows what they're talking about. Because these kids have gone through it and they know the pains, the troubles of the gangs and the drugs, and the impact that it has on the, I guess you could call it stereotype among Filipino kids. That is a problem that we see right now with 2, 3 Filipino youths just hanging around or just riding in a car and being stopped by the police officers on suspicions that they might be the people that they are looking for.
Fulfilling very necessary roles, staff counselors are always on hand to help with problems or to just listen.
We're like all a family here, so we all help out each other, and we're all friendly to each other.
I like to show the more upbeat side of our youth. I don't think all of them are gang members. By all means, we have a lot of students who excel in high school. We want to project Filipinos of today, of the 90s at this time, and there's a lot of second, third generation Filipinos who don't understand or speak the language anymore, but who really want to identify with their ancestry.
In its earliest tradition, Barrio Fiestas bring out the best of Philippine customs and rituals, as we now see on Maui.
I guess that's how I started the show. I wanted to present a Filipino community that's not limited in scope, but that has a lot of faces to it, and we want to show those faces. So we have to build this self-esteem, the self-image, and I feel that that's already happening to some degree, not a large degree, but I think we're making a dent in that score.
I used to give the speeches out at the Rizal Day programs in NY POW, and you know, we used to have a lot of Filipino laborers, and boy, you know, the applause and people just clap, and you know, here was a small, you know, eight-year-old, you know, giving these speeches, you know, and made them feel proud that we're Filipinos. Until today, you know, I'm not afraid to say that, hey, I'm Filipino.